Welcome back to today's video. Today, I'm going to teach you how to go through the Catalan opening like Magnus Carlsen. So first off, I'm going to explain to you what the Catalan is. I'm going to go through the opening, and then I'm going to show you a game of his that really changed the way we understand the Catalan in the modern day era. So the idea of the Catalan is that you play this move d4. Black typically responds with either knight f6 or d5. You can get sidelines, you can get the England Gambit, you can get some obscure reverse French, which something like this, and then perk. I call it obscure French, but anyways, what you do is you basically just play d4, knight f6, pawn to c4, and here black has many different ideas. Black can either play a Grunfeld, it can play knight to g6, fianchetto and get a nice King's Indian structure. It could play this, try to get a Nimso structure. It has multitude of options, but here the most common response with black to get the Catalan is you play this move, pawn to e6. Then typically with the white pieces and just chess in general, you want to develop, at most you want to develop 2 pawns and then start developing your actual pieces. Here the move order doesn't actually matter for the Catalan. I always liked to do this pawn move first, just because if you read, I think it's Modern Chess Openings 15th edition or something, 5th edition, something like that. This is the move order they talk about. This move order I grew up playing. Obviously in over-the-board games and maybe sometimes online, I'll change up the order. But when I'm explaining this to people for the first time, I typically just say push the 3 pawns. And here, black responds with this. Here, the idea is you can play bishop g2 or you can play knight f3. I think knight f3 first just makes more sense. You never want to, obviously, a bishop can't just come here and just pin this, but I always like doing this first just because it looks more satisfying to me. Pawn takes, bishop here, bishop to e7, castles. And this is the classical line. This is the Catalan at the fundamental level. You have this nice fianchettoed setup. You have a knight here supported. You have 2 pawns in the center. The queen protecting this. You can develop your knights, bishops, and black you gambited your c pawn. So black has this doubled c system. This is the most famous. This is just the Queen's Gambit, most famous chess show ever. Probably the only chess show, I think. But this is how you play the Catalan. And now the idea with the white pieces now is you have many different lines from here. The most common that you see beginners play is you play this move queen to a4 or queen c2. The idea is you want to win this pawn back because you can gambit a pawn, but ideally you wanted the material to be at least even. So here, queen c2 or queen a4 is a line. Sometimes people play this move knight e5, just trying to get aggressive, cagey. So let's just go through a line. We have queen c2, and here black typically responds with the move a6. The idea is that you want to play b5 to support this and get a nice pawn storm on the queen side. Sometimes you can see this move b5 being played right away. It's not a bad move. Computer says it's not terrible, but it's definitely not the best move that black can do. If I play against Catalan, usually I like to play b5. That's just me. Computer doesn't say it's bad, doesn't say it's good though. So here, after this, what can white do? White can play this move a4. Now you play b4, and you just have knight fd2 attacking this. You're probably wondering why you can't take this. This isn't a bad move, but it's not a great move just because you have this. And now you're just wasting a tempo, kind of. So this is the typical line. The idea with black is you want to play this move b5 and just storm. With the white pieces, you just want to try to win this pawn back, and you get very positional chess. A lot of tactics can happen too, but this is mostly like a very technical game. When you play the Catalan, it's very high level chess, and actually, much to his credit, what little he has left, Vladimir Kramnik was the pioneer of the Catalan opening. Obviously, he's lost his mind now, but in his prime, he revolutionized this opening. This was and still is honestly one of the greatest openings in chess with 1d4. People like to play the London. I hate the London. Very boring game. It's very nice to look at, but it's very boring to play. Um, and actually, Magnus, which is the game we'll go over, he popularized this line. So instead of, I told you, you want to play Queen A4 or Queen C2, or sometimes Knight E5 in the Catalan. But here, Magnus actually pioneered a much different line. He played this move Knight to A3, the sodium attack, NA3. You play this on the first move, it's called the sodium attack, NA3, NA sodium on the periodic table, if you didn't know. And here, all black has to do is just take back, bishop d7, and you can play a4 or knight e5. I like this a4 line. The idea is you just don't want to, you want to like try to prevent this b4 idea, b5, b4, and this will be strengthened by the queen. I think technically knight e5 is better just to put pressure on this, but then you have something like bishop c6, bishop takes, knight takes, knight takes, b takes, bishop g5 is the line, if I remember correctly. And here, honestly, if black plays this, I much rather prefer the white pieces because you have tripled pawns on the c file. This is just an ugly setup. Computer says it's even. In fact, black has a slight advantage, but if black doesn't know what they're doing, this is a very ugly position for the black pieces. So here we're going back to Tata Steel, I think 2022. This is the game that Magnus employed the Catalan and really revolutionized it in the 20th century. He played this a lot. He utilized the Catalan in his 2021 World Championship against Jan Nepomniachtchi. But here, this is a really interesting game if you understand the Catalan fully. It's not long. It's only 36 moves, but here we're looking at it from Magnus' side. Obviously, it's Catalan. d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, d5. Remember what I said, you can switch with the move order with the Catalan. You can still get the Catalan setup. This just says queen QGD, queen's gambit declined. But here, do simple, same thing as the Catalan. You just push this pawn, fianchetto, bishop to e7, bishop g2, castle, castle, Catalan structure, Catalan close opening. Here, Anish takes it, standard move, not a bad move, it's a great move. And Magnus plays 7, knight a3, knight a3, we just went over this, bishop takes, pawn takes, bishop d7, a4. I said I love this move a4, I love it because Magnus popularized it, love Magnus's games. But this just makes the most sense because Catalan, you want to play this move b5 eventually. You want to try to break through on the queen side. Here, Anish plays what I just went over, bishop c6. And now Magnus plays this move a3 with the bishop. The simple put pressure on this rook. And here, Anish just slides the rook over, queen c2, basically saying, I'm going to take this pawn now. You have nothing you can say about it. So here, Anish just has to let the pawn die almost. He just developed the rest of his pieces, getting ready. Magnus, instead of taking right away, he slides his rook over, creating a nice little cannon. a6, saying, if you don't take it, I'm going to play this move. b5, protecting, you take, and then I have this barrel down the a file, the open a file, I have a control. So Magnus is forced to take. You can't really take this now because this would just lose. If Anish played this, this just loses the bishop on the spot, and you should just resign if you never resign. This is just a joke, but over the board, if you're this good and you make this mistake, just resign. So after queen takes, you have bishop b6, d simple, attacking this and this. Magnus just slides the queen back to c3, knight takes a4, queen b3. Computer doesn't like queen b3. Computer thinks that the move queen c2 is better. To me, I think that's just wasted tempo. You could have gone back to c2 eventually. I think Magnus wanted just to strengthen this pawn a little bit more. but Magnus slides to b3. Here, Anish offers a trade of queens. Magnus doesn't decline, but he just says he sacks the rook. Sacking the rook? Is it a sack though? Because he's winning material. Kind of. He gives Anish his rook. But Magnus has the bishop pair. The bishop pair, the most crucial thing in chess. I said this a lot. Engines love the bishop pair, but if you just look at my previous video about attack and turn, my chess engine, I explained the bishop pair in a little more detail there, but just know it's fundamental to chess. But Magnus here says, I don't care about the rook, I want the bishop pair. He thinks the bishop pair is really, really important. So if you take that away, you're basically guaranteed to win. And here, Magnus, similarly, attack turn, love to put its bishop on a6. If you haven't watched the video, watch it. It'll make a lot more sense. It'll actually help your chess tremendously. Here, Magnus plays this nice move. Knight to e5, I do simple, put pressure on this queen 2 ways. Queen just slides up to b5. Anish offering a trade of queens again. Magnus declines the queen of trade, slides a queen back to c2. Knight to d5. Computer gives it a mistake. I don't know how to turn this off. Anybody knows how to turn this off? Let me know in the comments. This is a mistake because now what can Magnus do? He just plays move for rook to b1, pressuring his queen, and this queen will have to slide to something like a5. And now you just have something like bishop e4. You don't have to take this because this is honestly more important. You're just x-raying through. The x-ray is more crucial because you're killing off this knight. And instead, what black has to do is get loose. So it has to play something like maybe some g6 or knight f6. I think knight f6 computer seems to like more because it likes it more because you have to play this move bishop b4 instead, putting pressure on this queen, still keeping this x-ray. But here, after the move knight d5, b1 is played, queen a5, bishop takes is a mistake, the computer says. Which is a mistake because you should have played this order, but it's not too big of a mistake. Black is losing still, and any decent chess player, decent meaning a GM, would be able to at least maintain this advantage unless they run low on time control. E takes is a mistake. It's a mistake because this just allows for rook takes b7. Rook takes b7, pawn to c5. Big mistake by the computer. Best move here, actually, knight to c3. Knight c3 is the best move because this means white only has one move, which is bishop b4, attacking this 2 ways. And the idea is simple, that you have to play queen takes a2, queen takes c3, declining the queen trade, and actually giving up this, which isn't actually giving it up. And you know what? If you found this move queen takes c7, you'd be correct. Queen takes c7, queen h5, g4 with the white pieces, kicking out this queen, rook e to c8, attacking this queen, rook a7, and you actually can't take this. You can't take this because this is just back rank mate. So enough with that. You have c5, queen f5, rook f8, knight takes f7. Very nice move. Just sacking pieces, sacking. It's taking its soul. Magnus was inspired by AlphaZero. These are a lot of, especially like, I'd say 2017 to maybe 2022 Magnus was vintage AlphaZero. He learned it, and he learned it more and faster than any other person at the time. He learned how to, you'll even see a lot of one of his games, I forget which tournament he played in, but he just pushed his pawn on the king side and just restricted this king. The pawn had to play here, and this king never left this corner. It was stuck here for most of the game. Queen d8. by Anish. Big mistake. It's a mistake because he should have played queen e1 check just to bring the king out and exposed a little bit. Exposed meaning you can have some sort of counterplay on these squares. But here, side to back, and Magnus correctly finds the move d takes c5, queen f6, once again offering a trade of queens. This time Magnus actually accepts. He accepts because this is a big disadvantage for the black king. Your black king is exposed. The knight will get out, have some sort of counterplay with this rook just restricting the axis fully. And here Magnus correctly finds queen h6 check, king h8, pawn c6. D simple just wants to play c7, c8 promo, rook f c8, c7 with the pawn, just BMing, just saying you're gonna have to keep a rook there. There's nothing you can do about it. This rook's kind of uncomfortable, but not fully. Here, Anish plays knight c3, and here Magnus plays bishop c2, just x-raying this. It's a big x-ray. Anish could play this with check, but in fact, if he plays it with check, do you know what the best for white is? The best move? Correct. King f1, and now maybe something like this is actually a good move because you have to play. You could take with either. I think either's fine. H might be better because you can storm the side a lot easier. But if you take with F, that's alright too. I think after takes, let's work this line out. After takes, maybe a king g7 or d4. That's what I would play. I think king g7 is supporting this pawn. Then maybe knight f5 check. I feel like you can just walk this king up. Knight e7. Oh, knight e7 check doesn't work because after this you have this. And then you have to do this. And then, yeah, okay, never mind then. So Anish, after bishop b2, Anish plays d4, supporting this, saying if you take, and he's going to promo fast. So Magnus plays a knight to f7 check, king g7, knight d6, king g6, knight, king f1, knight b5, knight takes c8. So we kind of saw this. We kind of saw just the move order was swapped, and that's what you see at this high level chess. They know the best moves, but there's other factors that come into the head. They don't really fully thought out these lines yet, so you tend to see correct moves, just not the correct move order, if that makes sense. And here, the rook has to take. And here, instead of making some obscure move, Magnus just opts for a nice, calm, cool, collected pawn to a4, kicking out this knight. So the knight has to take on c7, bishop takes d4, knight to e6, and Magnus plays this move, bishop e3. Bishop e3 is the winning move, and here Anish loses. He loses because after knight to c5 is the best move. You play something like rook b4, and then knight to d7, and you play rook g4 check, king f7, and look, you can't stop this attack that's coming. You have a bishop that's cutting off full mobility. You have a rook that's just gonna put this king in a square, never leave, and you're just down too many pawns. White has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pawns compared to 1, 2, 3 pawns. Also has a bishop instead of a knight. Bishop's 3.5 points material, knight's 3, famously said by Bobby Fischer. And that's how Magnus Carlsen defeated Anish Giri with the Catalan. He played this really nice opening idea where he just plays his knight a3 sodium attack after takes. Just uses this to cut off black's, really the black's only idea with Catalan. If you never are able to place move b5, you're relying purely on these cagey setups. And that's basically the end of this video. If you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.